Hello everyone, I welcome you all to my channel Revealing Concepts. In today's class, we would be learning about the factorization method to solve a quadratic equation. That is to find the roots of a quadratic equation using the factorization method, and we would be solving the problems using the factorization method. You have already learned this in your class 9th as well. Today we are just going to brush up what exactly is factorization method, and we would be solving 3 problems using the method. Now let us start. To understand the factorization method, the name factorization, when you use the word factorization, it does partially have the word factor in it. And what do you mean by factor? Let's say you have a number 12, then you can write it as 3 into 4, which is further written as 3 into 2 into 2. So here you have factored the number 12 into its factors 3, 2 and 2. So 3, 2 and 2 are the factors of 12, right? So whenever you talk about factorization, it is basically expressing something in its product form, and that is why what you would be doing is, in this problem you would try to represent, or you would try to convert these equations, the given equations, into 2 linear factors. So you're going to factorize the given equation into 2 linear factors, and by linear I mean expressions where the power of the variable is 1. So basically you would be converting this x square ka term, or you would be rewriting x square in terms of this particular equation into 2 linear factors. And then you're going to use the zero product property, which is that if you have any product of any 2 terms as 0, then either of the term has to be 0. Meaning if x into y is 0, then your x is equal to 0 or your y is equal to 0. And this is pretty much obvious because a product of 2 terms can be 0 if either both of the terms are 0 or either of them is 0. So after factorizing the given equation into 2 linear factors where the power of x in each of these factors is 1, you are going to use the zero product property to say that either the first factor is equal to 0 or the second factor is equal to 0, and then you would get the value of x, which is nothing but the solution to the quadratic equation or the root of that particular quadratic equation. Now since this is a quadratic equation whose maximum power is 2, that is why the number of roots in a quadratic equation would always be 2. Now let us start solving the problems. The first question is, the equation is x square minus 3x minus 10 equals to 0. The first step is to check whether the given equation is in the standard format or not. And the standard format is ax square plus bx plus c equals to 0. So clearly we can see that the given equation is in the standard format because all the terms are there on the left hand side, and on the right hand side you have 0. Also the terms are expressed in the descending order as well. Now what you are supposed to do is, you are supposed to replace this middle term. Now your focus should be the middle term along with its sign. So you're supposed to replace this middle term with something of its equivalent. So you, instead of one single term, there would be 2 terms that would be coming in place of the middle term. How are you going to get those 2 terms? So for that, what you're going to do is, first you would be multiplying the coefficient of the first term and the constant term along with its sign. So this, now onwards, what I will tell you, that is supposed to be done in the rough work. So in step number 2, focus on the middle term, and you can also write here multiply. Now when you multiply the coefficient of x square, which is 1, with minus 10, which is your constant term, you get answer to be minus 10. So basically 1 into minus 10 is equal to your minus 10. Now since we are going to replace the middle term, that is why what we would be doing is, we would be writing the factors of 10 in such a manner that when you add those 2 factors, you get the middle term. So we all know that 5 and 2 are the factors of 10, right? So Now what you are supposed to do is, as per the sign that is there along with the middle term ka coefficient, you are supposed to decide the signs for both these numbers, and that is why your step number 3 is assigning the signs. So here if you see 5 and 2 को हम लोग को ऐसे साइंस देने हैं so that when you add these two numbers you get answer to be equal to -3. So let's say that the main operation between both of them is addition, but now you have to add signs to both of them so that we get the answer to be equal to -3. So if I put 5 ke udhar minus sign and if I keep 2 positive only, so the resultant answer that we get is -3, which is your middle term ka coefficient. And when you try to multiply -5 and 2, you get the answer as -10. So now what you would be doing is, you would be replacing your middle term with these two numbers along with the variable. So now what you do is, you're supposed to write x square minus 5x plus 2x minus 10 equals to 0. Now that you have replaced your middle term with these two different terms, have you made any changes in the question? Technically no, because if you write -5 plus 2, if you try to combine these two terms, ultimately you're getting -3 only. You have just written iska equivalent representation. So once we have replaced the middle term, now we are going to simplify. What we would be doing in simplification is, now the equation originally consisted of 3 terms, it got converted into an equation with 4 terms. We are going to make groups, 2 groups, each group containing 2 terms. तो पहले ग्रुप में से क्या कॉमन ले सकते हैं? So it is x that can be taken common. Inside the bracket x minus 5 would be left, which is pretty obvious. यहाँ से एक x चला गया, बीच में एक ही x रह गया, and then 1x from the 5x term plus minus 5. Now here if you see, whatever term you get here, make sure कि दूसरा ग्रुप में से भी आप ऐसा कुछ कॉमन निकालो that you get the same term x minus 5. So here I'll take plus 2 common. If I take plus 2 common, यहाँ पे x रह जाएगा and I can write 10 as 5 into 2, right? If I take 2 बाहर तो सिर्फ 5 बचेगा and this is equal to 0. Now here if you see, consider this as one single term and try to take the common term bahar. So here if you see, this is the common term. Can I take x minus 5 outside? If x minus 5 is taken from here, we get x over here, and from here if we take x minus 5 common, we get x plus 2, and that is equal to 0. So now we have actually factorized the given equation into 2 linear factors. Here if you see, originally our equation had the power 2. Now we have factorized this equation into 2 linear factors where each factor ka power is 1. If you see, the power of the variables in each factor is 1. After this, we are going to use the zero product property as per step number 6. That is, we can say that either your x minus 5 is equal to 0 or your x plus 2 is equal to 0. This implies that your x would be equal to 5 or your x would be equal to -2, and these are the roots, or this is the solution for the given quadratic equation. So right from factorizing the given equation into linear factors, then using the zero product property, and finally calculating the value of each calculating the value for x by equating the factors to 0, we come to the conclusion part of it. Now let us try and solve the second problem so that you would have a better understanding. So the second equation is 2x square plus x minus 6 is equal to 0. The only challenge in factorization problem is to decide the sign for the middle term. So let us now see and have a better understanding over the sign part of it. Again, if you try to compare it with the standard form, yes, it is in the standard form. So step number 1 is done for this problem. Now let us try to focus on the middle term. If you see, for middle term, first you need to multiply something so that you would get its factors. So for that, you're going to multiply the coefficient of the first term and the constant term, which is 2 into minus 6. 2 into minus 6 is minus 12. Now, our middle term in this case is plus 1. So, you are supposed to factorize minus 12 in such a manner कि जब आप उन दो नंबर्स को ऐड करोगे, you would get the answer as plus 1. So, can I write 4 and can I write 3 over here? I'm supposed to add. If I add 4 plus 3, I'm going to get 7. If I add minus 4 over here and plus 3, minus 4 and plus 3 is minus 1. But we don't want minus 1, we want plus 1. And that is why we would be giving minus sign to the number 3. And this is how you would be deciding the signs for these terms. So here, when you multiply these two numbers, you're going to get minus 12. And when you add these two numbers, you're going to get plus 1. So now, according to step number 4, we did complete our step number 3 by assigning the signs. Now step number 4 is replacing the middle term. So we are going to get 2x square plus 4x minus 3x minus 6 is equal to 0. Now that we have replaced the middle term, let us try to simplify. Simplification के लिए अपन इसको दो groups में divide करेंगे and then we would try to take the common terms. So from here if you see, can we take 2x common? We can. So 2x when we take 2x common, यहाँ पे 2 गया, x square में से एक x गया तो सिर्फ x बच गया and over here there is 2 that is left. Now one more thing, whenever you have negative sign over here, it is advisable to take the minus sign bahar. So when I take minus sign bahar and from these two terms, of course 6 comes in the table of 3, so you can take 3 common. बीच में x बच जाएगा because you take minus sign common and whenever you take minus sign common बाकी सब signs को reverse कर देना. So if I take minus sign common, इधर की minus sign plus बन जाएगी, x would be left and again this minus converts into addition and 6 में से सिर्फ 2 बच जाएगा because 3 into 2 is 6, 3 we have taken common and that is equal to 0. Further simplification, we are going to take x plus 2 common, so 2x minus 3 is equal to 0. So this is where we convert the given equation into two linear factors. We factorize the given equation into two linear factors. So now after factorizing the given equation into two linear factors, we are going to use the zero product property and we are going to say that x plus 2 is equal to 0 or 2x minus 3 is equal to 0, which implies that your x is equal to minus 2 or your 2x is equal to 3, then your x would be in this case equal to 3 upon 2. And these two are basically the roots of the given quadratic equation or the solution for the given quadratic equation. Now let us move on to the final question. Question number 3, 100x square minus 20x plus 1 equals to 0. Now, again if you try to compare it with the standard format, it is in the standard form. So let's move on to step number 2, where first we are going to find the number which is, we are going to multiply the first term, the coefficient of the first term and the constant term. So 100 into 1 is equal to 100. Now you have to be very careful while you are deciding the factors because एक number के बहुत सारे factors हो सकते हैं, right? So that is why you are supposed to be very careful. You are supposed to exactly select those numbers जिनको multiply, जिनको add करके basically अपन को minus 20 भी मिल सकता है. For example, in case of 100, if you see, we can also write 100 as 20 into 5 as well as 10 into 2, and there are other factors as well, like 25 into 4 is also 100. So in that case, what are we supposed to do? So apan ke paas, there are multiple choices apart from 10 into 10 as well as 20 into 5 and 25 into 4. but you have to focus on the middle term and see which is the best combination or right combination basically. इन दोनों को add या subtract करके we are not going to get 20 as the answer. So the only choice that is left is 10 and 10, because 10 और 10 को add करके we are going to get 20. But here the demand is not of 20, it is of -20. कोई भी number negative कब आता है? या तो दी ग्रेटर बिगर नंबर का साइन अपन को माइनस रखना पड़ता है, या फिर वी आर गोइंग टू बेसिकली गिव माइनस साइन टू बोथ द नंबर्स. सो यूर इन दिस केस आई एम सपोज टू गिव नेगेटिव साइन टू बोथ द नंबर्स. Otherwise, if I give minus sign to one number and not to the other, the addition comes out to be equal to 0. So in this case, if you see, minus 10 into minus 10 and minus 10 will give you minus 20, which is your middle term. And when you try to multiply these two numbers, two negatives will give you a positive product. So minus 10 into minus 10 is of course 100. So that is how we have got apna middle term. We have assigned the sign and now we are supposed to replace the middle term. So we are going to write the middle term as minus 10x plus 1 equals to 0. Now let us simplify. यहाँ से I will be taking 10x common. So inside the bracket 10x minus 1 बचेगा. Again, here if you see, after dividing these four terms into two groups, I'm sorry I did skip that step. After writing this, you're supposed to divide this four terms into two groups. First group में से मैंने 10x को common ले लिया and I got 10x minus 1. Now when you go on to the next group, here again we have got minus sign. So if ever you have minus sign right at the start of the second group, you're supposed to take it बाहर. When you take minus sign बाहर, apart from that, is there anything common in these terms? So there is nothing common in these two terms. So सिर्फ minus 1, जब कुछ नहीं तो 1 होता ही है. And now we are going to reverse the signs of all the terms. So minus 10x plus 10x बन जाएगा and plus 1 minus 1 बन जाएगा, and now that's equal to 0. After that, step number 6 is using the zero product property. But before that, of course, you're supposed to take 10x minus 1 common. So when you take 10x minus 1 common, यहाँ पे भी फिर से 10x minus 1 ही बचेगा. From where did it come? When you take 10x minus 1, यहाँ से 10x आ गया, यहाँ से minus 1 आ गया. That is how we get the second term or the second bracket, and this is how we have factorized the given equation into two linear factors. Now let us फटाफट use the zero product property, and we can say that either of them is equal to 0, which implies that your 10x is equal to 1 or your 10x is equal to 1, and that is how your x is equal to 1 upon 10. Here also x is equal to 1 upon 10. It is possible that someday you might get two equal roots. And this is how we have solved all the three given quadratic equations using the factorization method. As I'll again tell you, as the name suggests, factorization method may we are actually factorizing the given quadratic equations into two linear factors immediately using the zero product property and then finding the roots or the solution for the given quadratic equation. So in today's class, we saw what is factorization method and we solved problems using factorization method. This was the step-by-step approach that we followed in order to solve the problems using factorization method. I hope you all have understood what was being taught in today's video. If you have any doubts regarding anything, you can pin them down in the comment section and reach out to me. So that's all for today and see you soon in the next video. Thank you.